how many actresses in Bollywood have really dark skin? Nobody.
All right, we'll shift to audience question and answers.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. One of my favorite roles that I've seen you in is actually in your Made in Heaven cameo, which I thought was incredibly well done.
Thank you.
If you guys haven't seen it, it's about her acting as a Dalit woman who's an activist, and it's incredibly well portrayed. So I was wondering, do you think that there should be more representation of different communities in Bollywood as actors? And if so, how can that be done?
I mean, it's the same thing as Asians require representation in international in the international landscape. It's the same thing in India. All castes and regions and colors and everybody needs representation, definitely. So it's the same battle, 100%. Because how many actresses in Bollywood have really dark skin? Nobody. Nobody. They talk about it. Yeah. Oh God, they talk about everything. Yeah. They talk about it, and then you see new lips and new face.
Yeah.
Hi. So, you talked about choosing your battles, right? But I remember reading this interview of yours where you were doing this South Indian film and you spoke up because of the demands that were made of you as a female actor. So, and you have been very vocal about many things which have put a pressure on you clearly. But has speaking up created, taken away job opportunities for you? Because you did say it doesn't really matter so much to you, you can find something else. So as a follow-up, will we see you in stage because you have a theatre background? So what did speaking up cost you, if at all?
Well, it always scares me that I'm going to lose jobs or I'm going to be, something bad is going to happen to me. I always feel like, even right now when I was speaking about it, I was answering some other question, but I was like, oh, I spoke about this. And when will they let me back home? So I do worry about that. And it's a genuine worry. So I do worry about that. About losing opportunity, I don't really worry about. I'm sure I've lost jobs over it. I remember I met this very, very commercial, very big Bollywood director one day. And we were chatting, and he said, "You're really fun to chat with." I said, "Okay." So he said, "No, you come across as a very serious person." I said, "How?" Like, just because I say what I speak up doesn't mean I'm a very serious person. Like, it's really, I was like, oh, is that why you've never called me? But I'm sure I lose certain jobs because people who speak up are difficult. They're difficult. So I'm sure that is the case. But I'd rather that than not speak up. I mean, it's just, not me.
That's very interesting when you said that people, even directors and producers who are so involved in the entertainment industry cannot sometimes tell the difference in the on-screen persona and the person behind the scene, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
More interesting.
Yeah.
Can we get a question from the person in the fourth row?
Hi, Radhika. My question is, you hold your values with so much pride, right? And I'm sure this journey wouldn't have been easy. You would have felt isolated from your fraternity. At what point did you feel powerful enough to really be authentically yourself, and talk about things that most people would shy away from?
That's an ongoing process because, in the beginning I had no authority at all. Not authority in the sense I had no influence. My words didn't matter. I would be replaced, and nobody will listen to what I'm saying. But then slowly I had the power to say, this is not okay, change that, or I'm not going to shoot. But then I exercise my power on sets where I know they will change it and not replace me still. But recently I did a project where it's so big that there were so many things wrong on the set. So many things. I mean, I had to take therapy I actually had to take therapy. I was coming home and eating everything in my fridge because I wasn't speaking up and I couldn't cope with it. Some of them were happening to me, which finally I spoke about, and then that changed, but I could see that happening to so many women. And I spoke to them and I said, I'll support you, shall we? But they said, no, we can't. We've waited for this opportunity for too long. And I still don't know what to do. And I tried to speak about it to the higher authorities. They didn't do anything about it. A lot of times, you'll be surprised that people talk about one thing, they don't do it, actually. There's a lot of hypocrisy. And not just in the film industry, it's at our house, at home, isn't it? Like with mom and dad. Like, I'm just saying, it starts from there. It's everywhere, in every profession. I'm sure your college has a lot of political, hypocrisy and everything, sorry. But, it's everywhere. So it's an ongoing process, because sometimes then it comes down to saying, no, I'm not going to do it, and I wonder if that's going to really cost me everything. But then, I don't know, maybe it's worth it. My husband, who also he's a film, and he composes film music, and he also is a musician, he performs, he teaches, and he was invited to teach in a school recently. And the people were so nice, and their value system was so intact, that he said, they're barely paying me. And it's a job that's not going to lead to anywhere really in life, but I'd rather do that than work with a bunch of people who have zero value system, and you keep working hoping that it'll get you a bigger gig. But it's just somewhere, I don't know how to choose. I don't know yet. I'm at least withdrawn, and I've said no to a lot of things, and I'm letting it go. But I do like performing. I do like my field. So how do you, I don't know, I'm also figuring it out, honestly.
Do you like, just a quick thing before, do you like theatre more or film sets?
Both, actually. I've missed theatre a lot.
Yeah.
I did theatre for 13 years, and then I stopped because in India it's very difficult to do both. And at the moment, recently actually I've initiated conversation with two different directors to see if I can do something here in England. Because I really miss performing on stage. But they're very different and also quite similar, I guess. I like both.
Can we have a question from the gentleman in the back there? Theatre is actually very big in Pakistan.
Huh?
Theatre is very big in Pakistan.
Big in Pakistan. Ah, okay.
It's quite big. More, because we don't really have a film market.
Oh, sorry.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry. Bit nervous. Hi. So I know that you grew up in Pune in Maharashtra, was it? And you've lived in England, like for a while. I mean, what do you prefer about living in India? What do you prefer about living here?
Right.
Like, I don't know. Like, do you like living in London? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, actually, I'm so lucky. I live in two countries, because when I get bored of one, I can go to the other, really. And I get best of both, because I can escape. That's why I think I'm lucky. What I like about India is it's hard. I have really great family and friends in both places. The different weather seasons I like in both countries. England is it's much more clean. I like to walk a lot. I like green spaces. I live next to a forest. I also like calmer lifestyle. In India, I can hear construction the whole time. In England, it's actually quiet where I live. So I think, it's greener, it's quieter, it's away from, I used to think it's away from being looked at, but now there are lots of Indians here. And they look at you all the time. So where I live, suddenly so many Indians and Pakistanis, and they follow me home sometimes.
Oh God.
So we need to learn boundaries. So I don't like that about India. We have zero boundaries. When you're at the airport and somebody's belly is brushing against your back, you know you're in India. Because there are genuinely physical boundaries, other boundaries, and no boundaries. So I think that's something we need to learn a lot. But there's also, I don't know, there's something about India, people will go that extra mile for you. And I'm not saying British people don't have it in them, but culturally they're too polite to do that. And I miss that about home, and I like that about home. The other day, my daughter had to go for OCI, and I met the guy at the door, and he was like, come with me. And he took me, and they were all really sweet, and my husband was like, this will not happen in England, and it's true. And it's probably good that it doesn't happen, but I love it that it happens in India because then I'm out quickly. But you know, culturally they're really different places. I like some of the politeness and some of the space that is given in British culture to one another. Especially when you have a child, you realize that so much space is needed when 100 relatives are not telling you what to do and what to eat because your child has gas or something, you know? And I'm like, I will eat peanut butter because I don't care. It's a child, she's 5 weeks, they all have gas. Sorry, I don't know, does it make sense? Yeah. Thank you.
Very interesting, you said like about talking about boundaries. But also, do you think like the love and admiration that Indian celebrities get, the sort of fan frenzy they have around them, is way more than at least what I see Western celebrities get?
Yeah.
So I think it goes hand in hand, probably.
Yeah, I don't love it though, I have to say. Because the admiration is not because the admiration, I mean, in the sense, a lot of times in India, you'll just see because they're film stars, you'll just go, you don't even know their name. I remember this guy was following me in a hotel, and finally I stopped and said, what? He said, one picture. I never give pictures. I never give selfies. So I said, I don't. So he followed me down, and I'm like, listen, I said, tell me 3 films I've done, and I'll give you a selfie. And he said, Fair and Lovely ad. Which is an ad, for those who are not Indian, but not many people, for fair skin. I would never do that. So I got so angry. But it's like that. It's like, I don't like the worship.
Right.
Because it divides people, and I don't like it. I think it needs to be looked at as a job only, because people also take advantage of it. And I think the pay is a bit ridiculous. I love the money, but I do think it's ridiculous.
It's too much.
It's too much. It's too much because it's such discrepancy, and I think it's a bit vulgar sometimes.
We have a couple more questions.
Thank you, Radhika. My question is regarding every celebrity now has a PR team with them. And how real is the buzz that's created on social media, and how much is it doctored? Because right now we've had a movie released and the celebrities on all the reels that, you know, it's the biggest stars, the numbers are doing well. How real is it and how staged is that? And second, a non-serious question. We've spoken about all the great work you've done, but I remember the first movie you did, which is Wah Life Hota Aise.
Why?
Yeah, but it's a guilty pleasure because it's unintentionally so funny. So how was it being part of a movie that just made absolutely no sense, if I may say so? So that's like the lighter question, and I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
I need to erase that from my Wikipedia page. What was your first question?
I mean, how staged is the PR?
The campaigns. Oh, they're all staged, obviously. I mean, it's a campaign. They create the buzz. I mean, today I think somebody posted, "Something's brewing, guys. We'll tell you." And I was like, why? And I'm a victim. I'll immediately get like, what is brewing? Why are you posting this? I'm sure whatever's brewing, I'm not interested in. But just because it says something's brewing, guys, we'll let you know. I'm like, what the fuck? Why would you make me ruin my morning? But it's very strategically planned, and it plays on your psychology, and it's very well done. Marketing teams these days are excellent, I have to say. Like, really good. I mean, I always fall victim to all these, but they're very good. And that's all, yeah.
Is that true with the numbers as well? Like when they say that this is the largest collection that a movie, is that also buffed up, or that's all authentic?
To be honest, I've never verified because I don't care. So, but I'm not sure that's entirely true. Because, yeah, you're right. because I'm so removed from all of this. I most of the time don't even know the new actors, and so my managers and agents always make fun of me because they tell me this person's done this, they're the biggest right now, and I go like, I don't know. So sometimes I read something, I go like, this film is doing really well, and they're like, no, it flopped. So I'm like, why are they saying that it's been, so that's just campaign, because they need to make that. But, so yeah, sorry, I don't know. So clearly, it's not entirely true. And what was the second one?
Wah life ho to aise.
Oh God. So basically, I was doing theatre. I was in, I think I was about 12th standard, which is 18 years old. And I did a play called Brain Surgeon. And the director of that film was the judge, and I won the state award for that. And so he invited me and he said, I'm doing 3 films, Rakt Deha, Rakt is blood, Deha is body, and Va life ho to aise means, wow, life is like this or something. So clearly your age and everything, this is your best week. It's a small part, will you do it? And I wanted to see how films are made because I didn't know. So I did it. That's all I'm going to say. Never watch it, guys.
We have a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Hello, hi Radhika. Big
Hi.
fan, first of all, especially Phobia.
Oh.
My question is with respect to representation of rural India
Right.
in your films like Padman and Parched, which I'm a great fan of again. You've played rural women very authentically. Today, with the resurgence of angry young man back in streaming platforms and cinema and filmmaking becoming violent in general, we see some of that go away again. And do you think there's room for more balanced representation of rural India overall, especially women? And more importantly, how is us as audiences can push for that to happen? I know it's more cyclic, it happened during emergency, it's happening now. But
Yeah.
can we push for it ourselves as audiences?
I don't know, actually. I think it's like fashion, right? I mean, things come and go, and they get boring, and then something else comes. And whatever works, even if it's one film, like 12th Fail. There's a film called 12th Fail about a boy from a small town who made it really big. That did really well. So there'll be a follow-up on that. And I'm sure there'll be a few films that are already greenlit, which are in the similar, because they think this worked, let's make like, same things, similar things. So it's that, I think one thing clicks, they'll make 5 things which are similar to that thing. So one violent film does well, they'll make 5 other revenge dramas.
Okay. Hi Radhika.
Hi.
I was thinking about something you mentioned when you were talking about speaking up and people with power and influence having responsibility. And I was curious to know what you think, because I understand that when we're talking about speaking up, when it is something that is coming internally and as individualistic need for you wanting to speak up, versus when we talk about celebrities, for example, having responsibility. And I was thinking about even when people speak up because they have a responsibility, how effective that actually is, for example, in changing people's opinions. Because I imagine that in a lot of cases, people who would, for example, if you do speak up, in a lot of cases, people who would agree with you would end up being like, yes, that is great that she spoke up. And people who won't agree with you will end up hating on you, like you mentioned. So I was just thinking about, when we're talking about the responsibility that people with power have in regards to speaking up, how useful is that? How useful is speaking up because of that sole reason?
How useful?
As in, like, is it really useful for celebrities to speak up just because they feel like they have responsibility, even though it's not really going to change people's opinion?
That's what I feel. I feel like the celebrity should speak up or should give an opinion. I'm not somebody who says should. So I wouldn't say that they should do it. But when I say they have a responsibility, what I mean is what they say or don't say has consequences larger than what somebody who doesn't have that following says. And to be aware of that and to use that with the moral and ethical responsibility is important. That's what I mean by responsibility. So I don't mean by responsibility that you must give an opinion on everything that's happening in the world. But whether you give it or you don't, or has a consequence. And I think that's very important. And that if you don't have the awareness, then everything is basically about how can I make more money, or how can my next film, and nothing wrong with that, because who am I to say that's not correct, right? So do it. I don't agree with it, but to each their own. But this is my point of view. Okay.
Thank you. There's like an honorable member here who's been asking for a while. So can we do one in the second row, Michael, and the last question, please, from the member in the second row. Yeah.
Hello, hi, Radhika.
Hi.
Earlier you mentioned about working with in the initial stages of Joyland. So how was it working with Saim Sadiq, and did you end up watching the film? How was it?
Oh yeah, I watched the film. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. He invited me for the London screening, and I absolutely loved it. I loved every bit of the film. And he's a very, very generous, kind man. And we both felt quite heartbroken. We just worked on different drafts of the script, and we had a whole rehearsal schedule planned. I never made it to the rehearsals. So I didn't actually work on ground, but I worked on the script.
Hi Radhika, I'm Mehak. I'm obsessed with your role in Love Stories.
Okay.
I come from a theatre background, so we would watch that scene obsessively just to be inspired by, I think it just expresses sort of female rage, confusion, angst so well, and I really just want to ask about sort of the creative process before, how you prepared for that, and
right.
because I think I think it's one of the best performances ever in Bollywood. I'm so curious about how you prepared for it and
it's a very different story. You're not going to be impressed. Well, Anurag was writing something. Anurag was making love stories, and I said I'd like to write the love story that he's making. And I had an idea about a teenage boy and a teenage girl. And I told him the idea, and then I went to London, and then he called me saying that I've got somebody else writing something, and you are in it. So he just decided to go ahead with something else. But he had liked my idea, so he took my idea, changed it into something else, got somebody else to write it, because I said, it's not my idea now that you've changed it, I'm not writing it. So he said, I want you in it. So I said, I'm not 16, I don't look 16. So I said, don't worry, we'll change the age. So I said, okay. Then he sent me the script, which I did not like. And I said, I'm not doing this. I don't like the script. He said, fuck the script. You come on set and we'll do it, something else. So I didn't know what it was. So I was supposed to shoot the next day, and I went to his house the previous night to say, what are we shooting? Because I had no idea. I had zero idea. And he said, it's a character-driven story. I said, what's the character? He said, a teacher. I said, and? He said, I don't know yet. So I said, okay. And the next day, I went on set, and me and the first AD are sitting there. I used to smoke a lot that time. I quit, thank God. It's great to quit, by the way. It feels so great. But we both are chain smoking. We're like, what is this character? What is going to happen? And he was writing. And he wrote 4 monologues, and he gave them to me. And he said, these are the monologues. Learn them, and we're going to shoot. And I said, who is this person? And why is she saying this? He said, just say it. And I said, I can't just say it. So I made a backstory. And I wrote the 5th monologue. And I said, can I shoot the 5th monologue where all the 4 monologues make sense? And then can I shoot the 4 monologues? So he said, yes. So I shot the 5th monologue that I wrote, which is the only monologue that makes sense to me. Because it sort of, you understand why and she's like that and where it comes from. And then he edited that monologue out completely. And it's not in the film. So, but then he decided to give me a writer's credit, which I said, I haven't written a word of this film. So please don't give me the writer's credit. And the producer finally stood by me. And then on the day of the premiere, my name was there on the writer's credit. And then he looked at me and laughed because it was an internal joke. That was my experience. So it was actually really funny. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And, but then I wrote that other thing and it made sense to me. And so, yeah, it was about a woman it was a woman who was gaslit. Yeah.
The last thing we ask all of our speakers here is, what is one piece of advice you have for the members who are here for you? One advice, it can be anything, we ask this to you.
Please practice tolerance. I think we all need it desperately. I think and you guys are so amazing. I was just listening about all the debates you guys have, and he's going to send me links. Where is he gone? About links of some of the debates that he was telling me about, and I thought they were fascinating, and I'd like to see them. But I do believe that we're getting far more and more intolerant in the world at the moment, and I think everyone has a right to have whatever opinion they want and change that opinion also as many times as they want. And I just feel that we all need to be tolerant. That's all.
Oh, I hope they tolerate me for the rest of the time as well. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll go.